Welcome back to the Junkies Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with an old friend. Annie and I first met on Instagram a few years ago while she was attending welding school. We'd chat back and forth about the different welding processes, techniques, welding theory, and other things to pay attention to while she was in school. Annie has since graduated and joined up with the Boilermakers Union. In this episode, we discuss her journey after graduation that has led her all over the U.S. We also talk about some of her plans for the future. We'll get right into the show after a quick word from our supporters. Today's episode of the Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. In a world where strength meets innovation, Rockmount Research and Alloys stands tall, delivering unparalleled solutions in maintenance welding for all of your most difficult tasks, including on-site repairs, hard-facing, specialty alloys, dissimilar metals, and everything in between. If it's a problem, Rockmount has a solution. For over 50 years, Rockmount has been the trusted partner for the machine welding industry nationwide, offering premium electrodes and metalworking consumables that work hard so you don't have to. Rockmount's diverse product range caters to every need, ensuring durability and reliability in every weld to help you weld stronger so your repairs can last longer. From maintenance and repair to hardcore fabrication projects, Rockmount is the name you can rely on, delivering excellence one weld at a time. And right now, you can get a free 1-pound tube of Tartan AAA when you spend $250 or more at rockmountwelding.com and use AJP in the discount box at checkout. Get the job done right the first time, every time with Rockmount. We're also brought to you by CK Worldwide. These guys have been in the TIG welding game since 1967, crafting some of the finest torches, parts, and accessories on the market. Have you ever tried the CK FlexLock torch? If not, hop onto their website. That torch, with its unique 360-degree rotating head, is a game changer. It's available in both gas and water-cooled models. You can combine this torch with their SuperFlex cables, and you're set with unmatched flexibility and long-lasting performance. Other CK innovations like their gas saver kits with glass nozzles provide better gas flow coverage and visibility while saving on gas consumption. They also recently introduced their MT375 AC/DC welding machine with water cooler and cart. When it comes to TIG, equip yourself with CK Worldwide, the standard in TIG welding. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather. At Outlaw Leather, they craft more than just welding accessories. They forge companions for your journey. Each piece is handcrafted and designed for the brave and the bold. Discover Outlaw's custom leather welding hoods, created with a passion and precision to offer unrivaled protection and a personal touch that tells your story. Experience comfort like never before with their leather arm pads, an embodiment of their commitment to emerging quality and functionality with artistry, providing you with durable gear that stands just as tough as you are. And for the ironworkers who build the world, they offer bolt bags, rod pouches, and scabbards to hold your sleever bars and spuds and bull pins. Designed with meticulous attention to detail, ensuring every tool has its place so you can get to them when you need them. And as a listener of the Junkies Podcast, you can save 15% off all their in-stock leather goods when you use Junkies in the discount box at checkout. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Thank you for downloading show number 308 of the Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, Annie, what's up? How you been?
Oh, living the dream.
Yeah, you're out there making big money now.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a couple dollars to make you holla.
Yeah. Now, so we actually, when the hell did we meet? Probably, what, 2020, 21? Somewhere in there?
It had to be 2021, 2020. I was just starting Lincoln.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. So you were at Lincoln Lincoln Electric School of Welding up there in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, and
CLE.
going through their program. How long was that program?
It was a back in the day, I think it was a 20-week course comp course.
Okay,
they've been changing it left and right.
Yeah,
I think it's now like 16 or
okay. So you're pretty much going just about every day of the week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was like 40 hours a week, but they covered what, you went through all the different processes, stick, MIG, TIG, flux core, is like a whole comprehensive course and all that, right? Just focused on welding, basically the fundamentals, the techniques, all that good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Lincoln
Okay.
Electric is one of the best schools. I'll preach it to this day. I'll preach it anywhere I go. Is Lincoln Electric's there to build a foundation. You're
Right.
not going to be the best of the best out there starting out. Yeah, it's all go there, build your foundation, build the metallurgy foundation, which is a huge part of Lincoln Electric's weld school. And well, get that knowledge, because that'll make you one step higher than the next guy, other than just being able to lay down beads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. They've done blueprint reading now too. So they're trying to work their way into being better, and they're
Okay.
seeing where flaws are coming and trying to find where they can, kind of meet that barrier where, people who are looking for good welders and good hands is not just a welder, so
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah, it was, I really didn't realize how much was involved in welding until I went up there to their advanced educator workshop, meeting Ryan and all them, but we got to do a lot of the tours. So we got to see like how welding machines are made, how the boards are potted, how, I was like, oh yeah, this stuff's kind of cool. We got to tour automation. I was like, yeah, that's pretty neat. And then we got to go and actually witness how they test the filler metals, or actually how they build the filler metals first. So we got to go through the whole line, where they build, all the 7018, 6010 electrodes. Then we got to see how they draw the wire for the MIG wire. And once we got done with that, then we got to go in there with the geeks, the guys with the white lab coats and stuff like that, and actually check out metallurgy for the first time. And they're doing all kinds of tests that at the time, as a welding instructor, fresh out of the field from doing structural steel ironwork, I had never seen this type of stuff. I was like, you mean to tell me that there's more to welding than just striking an arc and, holding a straight, steady rod the whole time? Like there's more to this stuff. And man, the amount of science and different filler metals and weld metal and base metal combinations and the different types of testing and different different environments, these electrodes are built for, and then what the machines are actually capable of, and, all the R&D that goes into that. And it's just mind blowing. Did you get to do the tours while you were up there for like when you were going to school? Did they take you on a lot of the tours?
Right when I started, so I went to, I went prior. I was doing some welding classes prior, but when I went to Lincoln, right as I started, COVID hit. So COVID hit, and we didn't get to tour. We had classes. Classes were completely different back in the day.
Yeah.
Seeing it open like it is nowadays, like it's wide open now. You go up there, and I sometimes buy gloves. If I'm ever back in Cleveland, I'll go get some gloves or something. Come stop in, say hello, and then I'm out the door onto the next one usually. So, it mind boggles me. The cafeteria is open. The halls don't have this barrier that says go this way with arrows, and the other way it goes this way.
Yeah.
With arrows. It's
post-apocalyptic version.
Yeah. It's quite crazy. It's mind-boggling seeing. So no, I didn't get a chance to see any of that. But one of these days, I hope I get the opportunity to actually see that.
Yeah, you got to pop in there, go see one of your former instructors. Well, because he's managing the entire welding school now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, sure is. Charlie Lorich.
Yep.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him. I missed seeing him this year because I usually do. He comes down for Sun and Fun, and he kind of does like the welding workshops. And I work at the demo booth and everything, but this year I don't think they were doing the demo booth. They just had the welding workshops going on and stuff. So I missed seeing him that, and I don't think he was going to make it anyway because now that he's like the head of the welding school, he doesn't have time to come down here and do welding demos and stuff. So yeah, he's a busy dude. But yeah, go up there, check out their tours if you get a chance. I mean, the stuff that they do is just incredible. And then I took a group of students up there back in 2016. And we did, or 2016, it might have been 2017. We got to do the tour out in Menor, Ohio, where they do all the flux core wire. And that was a pretty cool process to see.
It must be. I heard it gets really, really, really hot in there, and they got to swing shift yous, and they got to do all these things because they can. Oh, there's like a certain schedule they have to put you on. I think it's like 2 on, 1 off, and then you work 3 on, 1 off, or 2 off, or something.
Oh, that's weird.
It's quite wild because of how hard they work you.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's you know what I mean. I mean, it's really. I mean, you obviously have seen what goes down in that facility, and it's hard work.
Yeah, they make enough wire in that building per day to wrap around the entire globe 2.5 times.
It's pretty mind-boggling.
That's insane.
It still mind-boggles me.
Where the hell's all the weld wire go?
Into our structures.
Yeah, into the bridges and the buildings and the pipes and all that good stuff. It's just nuts to think about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But we get to tour that facility. It's a pretty neat setup over there, but that's usually not part of the deal. But Carl Peters kind of worked out something for us, so it was cool. I got to take all my students out there, but it was a blast. I
don't think I've met Carl Peters, but that's
I think he cool, retired 2018, 2019, and then Scales. Yeah. I think Scales took over his spot shortly after. They've made a bunch of changes and stuff. But yeah, Carl Peters is a good dude.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
He worked really close with Dwayne Miller, and then I know Dwayne Miller and Charlie Cross. They recently put out an article in the Welding Journal. I've got it sitting here. I've not had a chance to read it. I just got my copy of the Welding Journal in yesterday, and I've not had a chance to read it.
That man is incredibly smart.
Charlie,
one of the wisest
or Dwayne,
wisest words. Well, I've never met Wayne Miller, but I have indeed had multiple conversations with Charlie Cross.
Yep.
Let me tell you, that guy will blow your mind.
Yeah, he's a smart dude.
The best piece of advice he gave me, and I still do it to this day, is read something new about welding every single day. Find an article, and then he showed me a site, and I have it. I'll have to send you the link sometime. And if I could find it, maybe you could tag it somewhere or something. But
yeah,
there's a bunch of new articles on it every single week or every other month, or it goes crazy. And it's a lot of like structural code, bridges, and seismic, and just a lot more. It goes deep into it. And
yeah, if you find it, shoot me the link again. If we get it before the episode drops, I'll put it in the show notes. Absolutely,
yeah. I'll have to get a hold of Charlie Cross. Actually, have to get with him.
Yeah,
I have it.
Him and Dwayne did another one. I think it was for like one of the Canadian welding journals or the Canadian Welding magazine a couple years ago on heat distortion, and that was a really fascinating article. Yeah, there was like a 2-part series. I got to read the first part. I don't think I ever got to read the second part because I'm not a avid subscriber to the Canadian Welding Journal. But I think that's the publication it was in. I think it was there, like, because we have AWS Canada and all that, or it might have been something the CWB put out. But it was a really, really good article on like heat distortion and how to weld your way around heat distortion and stuff. It was really cool, really informative.
Actually, I want to know where that's at because I would like to read about that. I'm experiencing a lot of that with some of the metal I'm seeing recently, so that would be pretty cool to have.
Yeah.
So I'll send you my links.
Yeah, we'll trade links.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now once you graduated welding school, because I remember like you and I were having conversations like almost every night, the different processes you're going through, whether on plate, pipe settings, working through the different machines, like all that cool stuff. And I remember you weren't really sure what to do, and you were kind of getting nervous and anxious, like, hey, I'm getting ready to graduate. I have no idea what I want to do. But like I told you, you're going to find your path. You're going to find out exactly what you want to do. And if you don't like it, the cool thing is you can change careers inside the welding industry, within the blink of an eye until you find something that you do like, something that resonates with you. And then you can stick with that. And then you got into boiler making, but what did you do before that? I remember you did a couple different odd jobs and stuff.
I was working in the manufacturing industry, just trying to get my feet wet. I was at Mac Trailer for a little bit, I think like a month, and then I worked over at another company. Oh, what was it? Ohio Blowpipe. My apologies. And they send a lot of their stuff out to the paper mills, and they send people out and they install it.
Okay.
Ohio Blowpipe. Yes. So I worked there for a little bit as well. It was solid, but it was all galvanized. And so I did it. I tried it. Didn't necessarily like that particular process with that particular metal. And so I picked up and said, I want something different.
So now how do you shift from doing that into how did you find out about the Boilermakers?
Ben Bradbury over at Lincoln Electric. So that was a whole thing. So I was sitting outside one day waiting for a pipe to cool down. It was 6 inch or something, I don't know. And I'm sitting outside. I was just sitting there. He goes, you look like you got something on your mind. I go, yeah, I do. I don't know what I want to do. I'm graduated at the time. I was working these odd end jobs, and I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I ended up calling him and talking to him. And we talked about it. And then he said, look up the Boilermakers and look up the pipe fitters after we sat down. And then after talking to him for a little bit through Facebook and stuff, and I came back one more time and said, hey, I'm going to go after this, and called the Boilermakers Hall. The Boilermakers had me come in that afternoon, filled out the application to the apprenticeship, and I was in the next morning.
Oh, wow. They move quick up there.
Well, Ben made a call to the hall.
Oh, that helps.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I know down here,
Right.
I'm not sure how the Boilermakers do it, but I know like the pipe fitters and the iron workers and the millwrights, they only accept certain parts of the year. But I think that's changing because the amount of work that there is out there and the amount of people that they need, it's like they're picking up people every month because they start their training sessions go every 6 months for 2 weeks. And I think the classes are staggered. So it just depends. So when you went through your apprenticeship program, did you go evenings, or did you have like specific, like a 2-week chunk that you had to go attend apprenticeship and then they'd put you back on the tools, and or was it like 2 nights a week or something like that, or like how's the apprenticeship through the Boilermakers?
Well, it all depends on the hall. For instance, I got buddies over at Local 85, which is Toledo, Ohio, and they got night classes every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that, throughout their entire apprenticeship for like 2 weeks out of every month. And they got to go like 6 p.m. to like 10 p.m. So them boys are suffering. So you gotta give it to them boys and gals. And then you got people like me out of my hall who's spoiled, I would say, very blessed, who gets the opportunity to, if you're working, you don't got to be at classes. If you aren't working, and if our instructor would like, he will make you come in and mandate that you get, I think, 80 hours each period of apprenticeship courses. So every 6 months, you jump up in the apprenticeship. You get a raise and you move your periods, right? So there's 8 periods in my hall, in my region, and that's the Great Lakes region. You got the Great Lakes region, the Sajak region, which is the south, and then you got the Western States, which is the west, and then there's one more, and I'm forgetting all about it, but maybe I'll remember another time.
What type of work were they putting you out on? Because I mean, you already had welding experience, and a lot of times with the different halls and everything, when they bring in new apprentices, they have absolutely zero experience on the job, or with tools in general. It depends. It's a case by case basis. So when you got in there and you had welding experience, what type of work were you doing as like a first year day one apprentice?
I was running leads. I was pimping, passing rods, just like any other apprentice would. They don't know you. They don't know what your skill set is. It takes a little while. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you're going to run leads. You're going to prep. You're going to run. You're going to get ran. And that's just it. That's the apprenticeship, man.
Yeah. Now, how long was it before they had you out there welding?
Oh, I mean, that was my first job. Like, even my first job, it was just a 1-day emergency hit at our steel mill. I go straight down to Tennessee, and I go to Kingston Fossil Plant, and they pass me. They make me weld MIG, Hastelloy. So that was a really fun job. We were up in the scrubber and I got to weld and it was a really good time. And we were putting in a whole new wall basically out of Hastelloy. And it was pretty fun. It was quite an experience. A lot of welding. A lot of welding.
Is it what you thought it was going to be? Like once you heard about the Boilermakers, then once you get on the job site and you start seeing the type of work that they're doing, the places you got to get to, the stuff you got to type of work that you have to do while you're out there?
I loved it. The minute I saw it, I loved it. So I was like, it was a whole new game. It was mind-boggling. I didn't know what was what. It was crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely gnarly. No, I didn't have as much experience as some of these other guys who picked it up pretty easy.
Yeah. Now, did you find they were like pretty welcoming you, as far as like bringing you into the fold and like getting you to work and stuff like that? And like, because I remember talking to you, I was like, find the old people, find the old guys and like link up with them and become their best buddies because they're going to make life a whole lot easier on you.
Yeah. And I have used that piece of advice up to this day as I'm finishing up the third year. So I've been using that advice, and the old timers are nothing but great guys. Sometimes you get guys that are kind of, rough around the edges, but that's just them, man. You just kind of got to let it go. You can't take nothing to heart. But if you listen to what they do and you bring some snacks, they'll teach you.
Yeah, snacks are a plus.
Especially when you bring snacks.
So so explain to me exactly what do the Boilermakers do for folks that don't know exactly about the Boilermakers? Like they might be familiar with, the Pipe Fitters Union or the Iron Workers Union, but like what exactly are you guys and gals doing when it comes to boilers and pressure vessels and all that stuff?
The Boilermakers, well, it's really hard to explain, but I explain it like this. You see the lights that are on?
Hmm.
That's because of the Boilermakers. Millwrights and the Boilermakers. Boilermakers are the ones that are in the boiler, and you have coal. Coal comes into to sum it up. Coal comes in to a powerhouse. It gets fed through into the boiler, which ignites, makes steam and pressure. Yada yada. Steam and pressure makes the turbine go. That turbine turns on the lights. That is what the Boilermakers do. And then we work on anything off the first flange of the boiler. So anything that's first flange, that comes off the first flange is ours. We do structural welding. We do a lot of tube welding. It's not a pipe, it's a tube. And it's a lot of water wall, a lot of freehand TIG. It's not, you see the pipe fitters, you're going to see them, walk in the cut, and you see us Boilermakers, and we're going to freehand that rooted. We're going to slick it in like a hand. And so that's the difference, is that pipe fitters kind of, but they don't have as tight constraints, I would say. They have some tight welds, but not as tight as a Boilermaker.
Okay.
If you've ever been in a mud drum, I think that would be a good indication.
I got you. Yeah, because everything that you all do is like under severe, like high pressure.
Absolutely. We just did a hydro this week, not this week, over Christmas in Illinois, over 363 over at Baldwin. We go up there and they put it at head pressure. Some of these tube leaks are coming out crazy. We put it up to 1,400 PSI. Still like a volcano. They get it up, I think they wanted to get it up to 2,500. And by that time, it was a tsunami. And there was 28 tube leaks out there. So when you mention emergencies and tube leaks, you need the power on. Like I mentioned with the turbines, best way to explain it is all that pressure coming through and steam causes tube leaks out out the wazoo. All the heat coming into that boiler. I mean, to ignite the boiler, it's pretty hot. And there's some videos on YouTube if you guys are interested to see a boiler start up. It's pretty loud and pretty cool.
I'll have to check that out. So when you all go out there and you have to make repairs and stuff, I mean, they're obviously not shutting this stuff down because it's providing power. But like, how are you able to go in there and do the repairs when this stuff's under like severe pressure and everything? Go in there and like cut out a crack or cut out a leak or anything like that and make the repair? Are they able to like just shut down certain areas or whatever for a short amount of times to get it done?
That's a really good question. It all depends on the contractor, to be honest, in the hall and what their methods are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know, for instance, that if you got a tube leak, they'll turn off the unit. So power plants have different units. So you're never going to be without power because you have different units that are running the power, unless they do an outage, and then that's a whole nother thing. Mm-hmm. But they'll shut down the unit for whatever it needs. They'll do a hydro. Well, hydro will identify the leaks. Once we identify, we'll go in and repair them because they shut down the unit for that short amount of time. Now, I have heard of times where they've kept the unit on, but you can't get into a boiler if it's running. It's too hot.
Yeah, that'd make for a bad day.
Yeah, you can't do it. You have to shut it down, have us come in, and we do it that way. And so for instance, there's a company called National Boiler Works, which is a union company out of my hall. And they actually travel across the nation with package boilers to put into, like, let's say Cumberland, a TVA plant, right? They'll put it there, and they'll use that package boiler in some instances to run power for however time it needs to shut down in an emergency. Very, very cool stuff.
Are you primarily doing repairs? Are you doing shutdowns? Are you kind of doing like a mix of both? I mean, like, what's been your primary type of job in the Boilermakers? Like scheduled shutdowns or like, what's that?
I've been thriving at the refineries. I really like the refineries. I seem to like the flow. I seem to understand what's going on. I like the jobs that are given to me as a welder out there. It's not always tubes. I've only welded a couple tubes in my whole Boilermaker career so far. But with that being said, I have a lot more knowledge of structural and how to read prints and how to do all this other stuff that not many tube welders who just tube weld in the Boilermakers do. So if you want it, you can have a wide variety of knowledge within the Boilermakers. It's not just one scope tubes, it's all across the board.
Okay, so you guys get to weld on
pretty cool.
Quite a bit of different, so it's not like the same thing over and over. It's not the same mundane task. I mean, it's always like a new challenge or something different every time you got on site.
Yeah. Well, for instance, I put in structure in a boiler, in a hog fuel boiler in Washington. That was pretty cool, right? Just hanging and banging a little bit, but also that was really cool too. There was a lot of experiences, a lot of tube welding out there, a lot of socket welds, a lot of really, really fun scope of work out at the paper mills for Washington. But for instance, like Cleveland, we do a lot of steel mill work, which is a lot more on the structural side of things, or some would say tanking, because big and round looks like a tank. So that's, it all just depends on where you go. Like if I go to Tennessee, I'm going to be working more powerhouses. If I go towards the east, I'm going to work more refineries. You go out west, it's more paper mills and refineries. So, just wide scope all over the place.
What's been your like favorite type so far?
The refineries. They tend to treat me so well that I really like the refineries.
A lot of fun going out there doing that type of work.
Absolutely.
I mean, work's work, but I mean, a lot of times it's like the people that you're working with are the ones that kind of make it a good job.
Absolutely. I just did a job for Local 13 this past fall, and it was at Monroe Energy. And man, I can't tell you how great that hall was, man. What a great host. great people. I've made great lifelong friends, I hope. And I mean, just all in all, a great haul. I mean, that was a stellar job. And that was pretty cool to see. We put in one of the first nuclear reactors in a refinery.
Oh, where was that at?
It was in Monroe Energy, or yeah. It's something. So it runs off of. I'd have to show you pictures. It's crazy. I don't even fully know the whole scope of that thing. But somebody said I think it was a nuclear reactor. It's what's fueling their energy now.
Okay. That's pretty nuts. Yeah, I wasn't sure that they were still running nuclear power. I know like there's a couple different facilities and stuff like that, but I wasn't sure that if they were still going the nuclear route, because everybody's so focused on, we got to go solar, we got to go wind, and all that other happy horse shit.
Yeah, no, I just don't count me 100%. I mean, I'd have to show you the pictures, but it's huge. It's a nuclear reactor, we believe. I'd have to look at it and make sure that, but yeah, I wasn't on the crew who got to make that lift. I had a friend who was on that crew. I was on the boiler, having to repair the roof.
Okay.
So
now, you guys
got to fly that in. So
right. So you get to do a little bit of everything. You get to do some welding, you get to do some rigging, you get to do fabrication, repairs, all that good stuff.
It makes you a very, very deadly weapon.
Yeah. That's why I try to tell people, like, don't just focus on the welding aspect. I mean, that's great. It's a good skill set to have. You're going to use that a lot, but the majority of the time you're not going to be welding. You know, the welding's that's the quick and easy part. It's all the work you got to do to get to that point where you can actually strike an arc. You're not just going to go out there and roll out the leads and make a quick weld and get back in the truck and go. No, you got to cut it, prep it, clean it, all that good stuff, repair, replace. Then you get to the welding part. That's the most time consuming part. The welding's the easy shit.
I 100% agree. I tell everybody who I get to work with or get the opportunity to learn from, boiler making is 90% of what you just listed and 10% of welding. There is a lot more to this than just striking an arc and making pretty beads. Mm-hmm. Now that's the fun part, trust me. And as you go through the apprenticeship, you gain your confidence and you start learning how to weld better, and you start seeing these journeymen. It just starts clicking easier and easier and easier. And just trust the process. And one thing I would like to say to my prior self, I'd say, is just trust the process. So anybody who listens, trust the process.
You said you were on your third year of apprenticeship. And so what classes have you had to go through up until this point? Because I know it's like anything else. It's like a regular welding program. They kind of dangle that carrot at the end. We're like, at the end of the apprenticeship, we're going to teach you how to weld. But so, like, what are you doing? Like, what classes have you had to go through before, to get up to this point where you're at in your third year?
So, oh my goodness. So you have the opportunity, if you want to, anybody in the apprenticeship can do this. You could go online, do all your coursework. I'm ahead of my coursework. But for instance, I had to do stick welding learning. There's basic math. There's they didn't throw blueprints or nothing like that, but like common tools and stuff like that, rigging, like basics of rigging, and oh my gosh, I'd have to pull up the list. I mean, it went on. There's like 8 subjects and then 8 tests, and then at the end of that, you got to take a major test in 6 months, and then you progress up, and yeah.
And you're building certs the whole time you're going through this program. You're building additional certs, which is making you more employable or more desirable to a lot of these union contractors. You qualify for a lot more work, and I think that's kind of what's giving you the opportunity to travel around the U.S. because you're stacking these different certs and credentials as you're going through the apprenticeship.
Well, that's 100% true. And the other thing too is I take extra courses. Like, for instance, my hall was going to do the rigging course, I think, next year. Well, I want my rigging certs, right? So I went to California And while I was in California, I found out their hall was doing the rigging course. So I went ahead and took their course. And so now I am rigging certified through the Boilermakers, right? Code training, field leadership training helps you learn how to be a foreman. There's EPRI. A lot of people are starting to get into the EPRI, the refineries and the nuclear plants. Mostly the nuclear plants are liking EPRI versus this might be ASME. It still might be ASME.
Yeah, I know that's
For
one
torquing?
of them. Yeah, for American Society of Mechanical Engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of the welds and stuff are
that
done to
still.
ASME. But I have heard of EPRI. I just don't know enough about it.
ASME. EPRI is kind of on the up and up thing. Like I said, it's more of a nuclear plant thing, and it's starting to work its way through the refineries. It's almost similar to ASME, but it's just tiny quirks, just really hard. They're really redundant on the tests and make it really, really hard with the wording, and it's a whole nother level. I haven't even been able to pass EPRI. Only person I know out of my hall to pass EPRI in my apprenticeship is Timmy Mick.
So yeah, it looks like EPRI is the Electrical Power Research Institute.
Really?
Yeah. So but they're probably developing codes
I
and
didn't
standards.
even know
I'm
that.
gonna have to dig more into that. I bet Bill Newell would know more about that because I've heard that name thrown around at a couple of the different conferences that I've been to. And like I just sit around and kind of absorb information. I don't ask a whole lot of questions because that like throws the entire conversation off. But I have heard EPRI being tossed around quite a bit.
Yeah, there's it's like a whole new code. Like there's EPRI rigging. Like it's pretty wild. And I heard the rigging. Like I took the torquing test portion of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I failed the torquing portion of it. Like it is crazy. Like the littlest of littlest things. You can't you know how like you normally like you can dope up a joint and then you screw it on. I mean, it is so if you don't do it the proper sequence that they want it done,
Mm-hmm.
you fail.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
if you don't, let's say you don't put enough dope, or let's say you put it in without checking or doing your first level check or whatever. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's been about 1.5 years since I took that course.
So it's like a whole standard.
It's a whole standard.
Okay.
And it's hard. It's hard. I give whoever has EPRI a lot of credit.
Right now, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. Everlast offers top quality welding machine that's built to last. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just starting out, Everlast has the perfect machine for you. From MIG and TIG welders to plasma cutters and more, Everlast has it all. Plus, each IGBT machine comes with a stock 5-year warranty. Visit everlastwelders.com today and elevate your welding game with Everlast Welders. And as a special thank you to the listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast, you can get a free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal when you use Arc Junkies in the comment section at checkout. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools. Educators, are you looking for quality fabrication tools at an affordable price? Don't answer that question. I already know what you're going to say. Head on over to stronghandtools.com/arcjunkies and check out the Educators Discount Program. Stronghand's going to send you some free tools just for signing up. Students need to learn the fundamentals of fabrication if they're going to be a capable and competent welder in the job market. You got to get fabrication tools into their hands while they're in school, because the first day on the job shouldn't be the first time that they get to use fixturing tools. Check out stronghandtools.com/arcjunkies and get your program on the fast track to fabrication. Now let's get back to the show. So that's just something to work for. That's just something to work towards. You just sit down and study. Like I just put out that episode on becoming a CWI. So, I mean, you can apply a lot of that stuff to, preparing for the EPRI exam. That's like the cool thing about going through and, being a part of the hall is you've got access to free training. Like even if your hall wasn't offering that, till like next spring, you were able to boom out to California and while you were there, take additional classes over there. So that's kind of the cool thing is once you get that membership, you're part of the good old boys club. You can kind of walk through the front door. You can take training. You can use that hall as a resource. You got a resource pretty much several in every state that you go to.
Hands down. I mean, even in Illinois right now, I'm staying in Illinois. I have access to 363, hands down, all the time. I could text the president or call the hall real quick and be like, hey, can I come weld? Sure, we'll let the door open. Because, well, I already know them. But let's say, for instance, I go to, I've done it in California. They didn't know who I was. I show up and I slick out a tube and they're like, holy crap, who are you? And I go, I'm Annie. I'm a boilermaker out of 744. Come in and do their common arts and get all their contractors. And they're like, who are you?
That's really
so, yeah,
cool.
it has its perks and it has its... but yeah. Yeah, that's the fun part, is getting to come in. And that's the other thing. They will look at you. They will, if you are a boomer and you walk into their hall and you want to use their resources, they might peep their eye and check. You want to, not to judge you, to see, can we put her to work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they'll
so
scout.
I have
They'll
a lot
scout
of
talent.
connections out of California now.
Yeah, we actually when I was doing my ironworker apprentice, we had there was like 4 or 5 apprentices that kind of boomed out temporarily, because a lot of times they don't let apprentices boom out to different states while they're doing their apprenticeship. But I guess for this specific job, that state could not manage it, so they put out kind of like an all call to get apprentices and journeyman ironworker from other jurisdictions throughout the U.S. So I think we had like 3 apprentices go up there, and I want to say it was like South Carolina or North Carolina, somewhere along the East Coast. And they got up there, and I mean, they ended up linking up, and I mean, I think they put in 6 to 8 months before they got sent back. But I mean, they were good hands. They were showing up to work every day. They were dedicated. I mean, they had to come back and get all their classwork and stuff done. They might have been doing some of the classes while they're up there, but you know, it was an opportunity afforded to them as an apprentice, which typically doesn't happen. You usually don't boom out as an apprentice and go work in another state or a jurisdiction like that.
The cool thing about the Boilermakers is that a lot of the halls are becoming suitcase locals, which means we're becoming boomers because we don't have as much work and the powerhouses are coming down. And so it's unfortunate, but I have a feeling that we'll be needing boilers very shortly again. They're going to find some flaw within these next few years, and we'll be pretty heavy in work. But the thing is that a lot of these halls, like a lot of southern halls, will let you boom. Western states will let you boom. But depending on your hall in the East, yeah, you're right. They will not let you travel.
Yeah, they keep you because they don't want to lose you. They're like, we need to have enough work to keep you here. We need to kind of limit you from booming out, because if you boom out in California, Texas, Chicago, and you find out that there's more work out there, you might not come back. We might lose you, and we need you working over here.
Yeah, that's true. But I've been very fortunate where my hall lets people travel if they want it. You have to wait a year. You have to be an apprentice at least for a year out of our hall before you can go boom out. So then you have to ask permission from the hall to go travel. I'm to the point where I'm very blessed, where they just approve me for travel every time on the BS, and I'm done.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't have to ask. It's already done beforehand.
Yeah, because I remember when we were chatting a while back, you said you wanted to get into something that would allow you to travel and, kind of go out and see, the way they do things in other states and everything. So it seems like you picked a really good path coming out of Lincoln. I mean, you did manufacturing for a little bit, but getting into Boilermakers seems like you took a really good path, because you seem much happier now. You're excited. You're doing some really cool stuff. You're able to learn a lot more. You're getting a whole lot more opportunities. I mean, you're still an apprenticeship and you're holding a foreman's billet right now. So, I mean, that's really cool that you've got all these different opportunities, that you weren't really sure what to do when you got out of school. And I think a lot of younger folks, they find themselves in that same situation. Like, I know I want to get into welding, and, I'm just going to sit here in school and I'm going to weld, and I'm going to pass this test, and I'm going to learn the next, the module, and I'm going to pass that test. And that, so they're so focused on what they're learning in school that the last 5 to 6 weeks, they're like, oh shit, I got to figure out where I'm going to apply this skill set at. What am I going to do with myself when I get out? And they start freaking out, because they're really not sure what they want to do, and I ask a lot of students the first day of class back when I was teaching, like, why are you here? What do you want to do? Well, I'm here because I want to learn how to weld, and I want to learn how to weld. Okay, that's great. What do you want to do with it? I don't know yet. What do you think I should do? I don't know, man. What? Let's get through the class, find out what you're good at. But like some people come in and they've got an objective. They're like, I want to go through this and I want to open up my own business, or I want to do this and I want to go work on the pipeline, or I'm going to get into this. I'm going to go. I know I want to be a structural steel iron worker because I got friends that are doing that, or I want to get into this specific company and they're hiring welders, and this is what I want to do. So like a lot of them that don't really know what they want to do, they start freaking out the last few weeks of class. Well, oh shit, don't worry, man. Just go out there, start submitting it, find a couple companies you think might work for you, and, go out there and give it hell. And if you don't like it, like I said, you can switch. But I mean, you landed in a good spot. You did a couple different things and then landed with the Boilermakers. And it seems like, are you planning on obviously making a career out of this, right? I mean, you're 3 years in, but I mean, you see this being like what you do?
If there's a lot more work to it, yeah. I let the good Lord take me where I'm going. And I'm never not going to be a Boilermaker. I'm always going to hold my Boilermaker board. I'm always going to get onto an outage or a job like that. But we do have off seasons. So in that off seasons, why not find opportunities to advance yourself? So we might work 6-7 months out of the year. Well, how do you pay your bills? Well, some of them will say go on unemployment. No. If you could get steady enough work, yeah, I'll stay Boilermaking. But I'll also go find other avenues. I eventually would like to have a rig and do some mobile rig welding and stuff like that on the side, and then be a Boilermaker. And then maybe own a company down the road. But that's God's decision, not mine. I just let the good Lord just guide me day by day. And so it's been working pretty far.
Look into their, definitely their leadership and supervisor programs. But I know when I was going through, like, I think I finished punk school or apprenticeship school. I finished that a little bit early because I came in with certs, and my local afforded me the opportunity to test out on certain things. So they're like, if you can pass this test, or like when I was, because I was taking college simultaneously. So instead of going through blueprints at the college level and as an apprentice, as long as, they reviewed the curriculum and they were like, if you can pass this class with a B or higher at your college, their curriculum looks it looks like it exceeds ours because we cover structural, but they're covering structural, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, and all that stuff. If you can pass their class with a B or higher, we'll give you credit for this class. So I was able to kind of graduate a little bit early. But one of the opportunities that the president of the hall was kind of giving me, and I didn't realize it at the time. I mean, maybe I should have took him up on the offer. I don't know. But the halls offer different classes to train you to become a contractor because they need additional contractors that are going to hire union hands to go out and work these different jobs. So what better way to find more union contractors than to create union contractors by union hands? So there's different classes you can go in and take and become a contractor that hires right out of the hall. So I mean, you could start your own company and start bringing people in.
Really great you mentioned that, because I was going to ask somebody about that, because eventually I want to venture off and start doing the package boiler thing. And it would be great to have my hands be union hands.
Yeah, look into that.
It'd be great for my company to be a union company.
Yeah, because I think that they will send you to go do the classes. I know it was something my hall didn't necessarily provide because I think it's like a national type deal. I don't 100% know enough about it to speak too much about it, but I know that was an opportunity. He was telling me like that's the route I think you should go. You could start your own business, and then you'd be a structural steel erector, and then you hire directly out of the hall. So I mean, the Boilermakers, I would imagine, probably have something because it's done through international, I believe. So you guys operate under international as well. So I mean, look it up, talk to your BA, talk to the president, and see if if there's anything out there like that. And then once you finish your apprenticeship program, go set up a business and, start submitting these packages and bids on your own.
And that's what I'm thinking about doing, because my dad's like, Annie, you got to start a company. And I go, what do you mean? And he was telling me about it. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head right there, because I needed more info. I will talk. I will bring that up.
Yeah. Reach out to your VA.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's some of the, I don't know, working. A lot of people tend to glorify working for themselves or starting a business. Like, I love it personally because I can set my own schedule. I build out my calendar, what days of the week I'm going to teach, what days of the week I'm going to consult, what days of the week I'm going to do certifications, days of the week I'm going to do the podcast. So it's nice to be able to have that flexibility, but it does come along with a lot of other things that, people really don't see looking in. You kind of get, right. You don't get to see, okay, like, for instance, I'm getting ready to work the next 7 days straight, which it's not a big deal, right? But as a business owner, people are like, oh, I'll just work Monday through Friday and take the weekends off. Well, no, you can't really do that as a business owner, because now your clients are dependent on you. Yes, I built this schedule, but sometimes things are out of your control. Different things line up, and, so I've got to work the next 7 straight days and possibly even longer, because after those 7 days hit, I've got another class that's coming in. I got to make sure that instructor's set up. They got everything that they need. Plus, I've got other events to go to. So you get stretched pretty thin. There's a lot of stress that comes along with owning your own business and running your own business that a lot of people don't see. I'm probably at a much lower scale than somebody submitting packages to do shutdowns and turnarounds for sure. But a lot of people in the welding industry, they're like, oh, I want to start my own business, just so, I can have the luxury of, just taking the day off whenever I want. That's not going to happen. Like I've said it before on the podcast, you build a monster, you got to feed a monster, so I mean, there's certain things that, you don't ever see the glamorous or the shitty side of owning your own business. There's a lot of times that suck. There's a lot of great times. There's a lot of benefits to running your own business, but you got to be super disciplined. You can't just sit at home and wait for the work to start pouring in. I mean, you got to be out there moving and shaking. And sometimes you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And people are like, oh man, that's nothing. I do that on my head. Well, yeah, but you're getting paid time and a half for that. And I might put in 40, 50 hours and not get any clients this week. Well, guess what? I made $0 and I worked all those hours. I've got no return on investment. Well, guess what? I can't take a couple days off now. I've got to work even harder next week to bring in more clients to make up for last week of not getting anybody, So, I mean, people, they don't necessarily see that side of the business. There's a lot of shitty side. And then once you start hiring employees, that's another side that people don't see. You start bringing people into work for you. Now you got to manage them. You got to supervise them. You got to build them up. You got to train them. You got to hire people that you can trust. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, but I mean, look into those programs, find out the ins and outs, find out if it's going to be a good fit for you. I mean, I know you pretty much do a lot of research and analyzing things before pulling the trigger on something. So, I mean, look into it, see if it's an opportunity that the hall will afford you. And if they do, go out and take all the classes you can. I mean, you'll be able to get like the inside scoop and, even talk to some of the contractors when you go out on the different jobs and stuff you're working. Go up there and go talk to the super or the owner of the company if they're on site, or, the rep of that company on site, and just, while you're on break, just shoot the shit with them. Be like, hey, how'd you get into this? How do you start this? Kind of figure out some of the things that are, the good, bad, and ugly about, becoming your own contractor.
That's a really good idea. I can tell you, I've met a couple superintendents. I've met a couple owners that I know. For instance, my uncle owns a company out in Menor, Ohio, who's a manufacturer. And he says it's not always rainbows and butterflies. He says, I got bills I got to pay. I got payroll I got to make. I got to make sure I keep the lights on. I got to make sure that the customer gets his product on time. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not just, oh, I'm making a bunch of money. No, I'm investing a lot of money to make a lot of money, to invest more money, to make more money. It's a never ending cycle. So you're right. I will have to do some more research on that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that. They're like, man, you own your own business, you get to bring in all that money. No, I've actually wanted to do an episode. I've got to do some more research. I got to find time to do some more research. But I know one of the classes I took when I was in college was it was like a management class, but we all are in management and accounting class. So we actually had to figure out, so like most people, let's say you make as the worker, let's just throw out a number, $20 an hour, right? Well, a lot of people get pissed off when they find out that their company is bidding them their charge out rate at $100 an hour. Like, well, as soon as I step foot on the job site, the company's making $100 an hour off my back, and I'm only getting 20 of it. Okay, yeah, you're getting $20 out of it, but then you got to pay federal income tax, you got state income tax, then you got workers' compensation, you got your insurance, you got like all these different fees and stuff. So at the end of the day, your employer is making about $7 an hour off of you being in the field. You're getting 20 out of that. The rest of that's going to your benefits and Uncle Sam. So
yeah,
those are things you got to think about. Is like, oh yeah, somebody that's owning their own business, they're making all this money. No, they're not. They're reinvesting a lot of that back into the company, or they're investing that into their payroll, into their employees. Yes, you're going to make some good money as a business owner if you do it smart, if you do it correct. However, it's not the boss man's getting $80 an hour and I'm getting 20. No, that shit's not going to fly. I mean, there's a lot that's rolled up in there, but I wanted to get the numbers because the numbers were staggering of how much businesses are actually taxed just for the cost of doing business per employee. It's freaking nuts. It's nuts.
What's the percentage? Do you have it?
Well, I remember, I'd have to look it back up, but I only remember this because I was working as an iron worker at one of the theme parks. And I was like, I know that this theme park was making at the time, I think $23 million per quarter profit. And then I looked at I looked at the bracket as to what taxes they would have to pay annually, federally, and it's they were paying 50% taxes annually. So you're like, holy shit. So let's say they're making $100 million a year. They're making $100 or $100 million a year in profit, right? And the government's taxing them $50 million a year. So they're at the end of the day, they're only making $50 million a year in profit. Which, I mean, that's a good chunk of change.
Money.
No, they'll never see that. That's a good chunk of change. But you think about, after you've paid all the employees and everything, and that's not one person collecting that money. That gets split up a bunch, against a bunch of executives and board of directors and, all that VP and president and all that stuff. And then you got to reinvest a lot of that back into the company. So at the end of the day, you're paying people a couple $100,000 a year to work for you and stuff. But that's a massive multi-million-dollar company. But if you look at the tax bracket, you're like, shit, they're not bringing in as much as, or at the end of the day, they're not getting as much back as, as one would think. Could you imagine getting taxed 50% on your paycheck?
I feel like it every time.
Well, yeah, I feel like every time I get it, I'm like, hey, you guys bringing the rest in tomorrow, or like where's the rest of this check? And the tax man cometh and the tax man taketh away.
I'll tell you this: I had a check made. I was working in Philly, and every week I'd gross $4,700. I was only taking home 25.
Damn, you're getting taxed 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you start hitting overtime. Overtime's nice. Overtime's great, but when you start hitting overtime, you fall into a different tax bracket, and that's what a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, and it's really funny when my dad's like, "Oh, well, you make a bunch of money," and it's like,
on paper,
yes, on paper, but that's why you do the side hustle as a boilermaker. You side hustle it because if you want that 6-figure income, go side hustle. Mm-hmm. You can still make 6 figures doing what we do, but you got to go chase it. And I do go chase it. But I found this opportunity right now, right here, 30 minutes from where I'm staying. I was like, done. Pretty good gig. Gives me an opportunity to show that I can do things, I can make it happen. And not only that, I can lead by example. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want in future foremen and what in the Boilermakers. You don't want just somebody who barks orders. You want somebody who can lead and do, and
Yeah, you're investing in yourself,
so
which is it's going to pay dividends in the long run.
Always invest in yourself.
Were you able to? 'Cause I think last time we chatted via DMs and stuff, I linked you up with Richard Roybal. Did you get set up with him, the financial advisor guy?
I'm so terrible. I think I'm following him. I think I am, but I have yet to sit down and be like, "Hey, dude, let's go over some finances," and because, well, to be honest, Jason, I don't think the last time I messaged you was the last time I think I've actually had time to myself, hours, because we would go back and forth for hours, man, just about just everything. I haven't had that in a long time, man. So I'd have to sit down and
do yourself a favor, carve out 30 minutes, shoot him a DM, carve out 30 minutes, set up an appointment, because you're young enough and you're doing all this travel and everything. And that's the downfall, not saying you, but that's the downfall of a lot of the welders that get out in the welding industry and they're making great money.
Yeah.
They start pissing it away. They're not saving it. They're not financially smart with it. And then, you put 5, 6, and you probably work with a lot of them, like right now, you work 5, 6, 7 years out, traveling around, making all this good money, and you come back with absolutely nothing. And you're like, well, I've been traveling the past 6 years. I'm going to stay local. So now you're relying on local money, local jobs. And like you said, it's seasonal, so it's going to ebb and flow. You're going to hit an 8-year or an 8-month, high season. And then all of a sudden it's going to drop off. Now you're on unemployment. Start taking some of that money and putting it to work for yourself. And it's simple, man. I've got it set up and it automatically drafts out of my account. I've got a retirement and I've got a life insurance plan, and boom, I wish I would have started it earlier. I wish, because I'm 40, I'll be 42 this year, and I know you're early 20s. So
later 20s now.
Later 20s now. So it's been a minute. But start investing in yourself and in your future now, especially if you're going to start your company, because let's say, 5, 6 years from now, you're ready to start that company. Well, shit, you need some working capital. Well, you can have money in the bank that's not doing anything, or you can have money in, a plan that's actually accruing interest.
Hands down. And that's why I picked up, I've been noticing with my finances, they're not where it needs to be. So I am living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to just get things handled. Some of it my fault, some of it not my fault. But anyway, that being said, I'm almost caught up. But once I'm caught up, I would like to stay caught up and start, instead of being at 0 every week, I'd like money put aside.
Yeah, have a little nest egg put aside. Make all that traveling worthwhile.
Yeah, so his name is Roy, right?
No, Richard Roybal.
Richard.
Yeah, and I can shoot you his contact, because I think I sent it to your other Instagram profile, but I can shoot you his contact info.
Yeah, and I think I even listened. Wasn't he on your podcast?
Yeah, I've had him on twice. We did one on financial management, and then we did another one on wills and trusts and all that good stuff.
I listened to the first episode.
Yeah, check him out.
And I really liked what he had to say.
Yeah, Stephanie Hoffman actually linked me up with him, and I was like, I started using him, and I was like, dude, shit, man, if I could use this information, people on the podcast could use it. So I mean, he's a solid dude. I haven't talked to him since, I haven't needed to talk to him since I set up my account, because it's pretty much on auto. But yeah, I need to reach out and chat with him a little bit more too. I got some other stuff I need to get handled.
That's what I'd like to start doing. I told myself this year, and I said it before, but now I put it in writing. I'm not going to tell you my goals, but I've written down some goals. I have some ideas what I want to start seeing, and so hopefully by doing that and sticking to the course, and you mentioning Richard Roybal, I will get a hold of him. This will help set me in the right path, and it's never too late to start doing this.
No, it's not.
And
I thought it was. I was like, well, screw it, man. I should have been investing at the age of
27
18.
years old.
Yeah. I was like, I should have been doing this at 18. It's too late to start now. It's not. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive, especially if you do like a life insurance policy. The later you wait to start it, the more expensive it is because you get locked in at a reduced rate the younger you are because you got less health problems and all that stuff, so it's a lot easier. It's a lot cheaper. But yeah, especially like working, I got a wife, kids, and all that stuff. I opted to go with the a life insurance policy as well, just because it made sense.
That's smart. That's really smart. My sister's selling life insurance.
Yeah, or link up with her. Give her a call. But I mean, either way, like definitely sort that out.
I want to get with Richard because he seems like he's got something situated there. It seems like he's really smart. I listen to him.
Yeah,
your podcast, like I said.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Financial.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that like looking back now, when you were in school? What are some of the things you would tell Annie in school that would prepare you a little bit better for what you're doing now?
Back in school? Easy there, Tiger. Just relax. You'll get there. That's about it.
Yeah. That's what some people don't get is like,
you'll get there, Tiger.
Be patient. Everybody wants to do it like now. They want instant gratification because you can do that with your cell phone. I can open up my phone. I can hop on, TikTok or Instagram and like instant gratification. Boom, it's right there. Just dopamine, just bumping all day long. But you get in the booth and you lay down a shitty weld and you get deflated really quick. And because they want it now. They want to be able to, like, I watched, 6 YouTube videos last night. I've watched your demo this morning, Mr. Becker. I should be able to just walk in here and knock this out. Dial it back a little bit. Go in there and practice. And just learn every single pass that you put down. Learn. And just be patient. It's going to click. If you want it, it's going to click. I've never had a student go through my program that couldn't weld that wanted to do it.
That's true. If there's a will, there's a way. I tell people, if I can do it, little old me can do it. So can you. So, if I can do it, and I'm not the smartest in the world, but gradually it gets easier and easier and easier. For instance, I never knew how to read blueprints. I took one class, and it took one day with Jesse Serpan. One day with Jesse Serpan.
Jesse's a good dude.
One day he showed me how it ran, how it went. I was able to pick up on it. It wasn't until I got into, like we were mentioning, apprenticeship classes. Middle of second year, beginning of second year, they had us start kind of looking at blueprints. And then third year, we really hit blueprints. But now that I'm towards the end of third year, actually, there's no blueprint reading. It's ISOs. We're just going to be starting ISOs. Mm-hmm. So, but that's not hard at all. If you can understand how a triangle works and how to get slopes and how that, it's really not that hard.
Yeah.
But that comes with the 3D mind, right? I never knew how to do that. And then I came into the apprenticeship and I got even better at it. Now I'm a foreman outside of boilermaking. But I will be a foreman one day. I know that for facts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want it, you can go get it.
If you put in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I need to. I'm just saying that it just as the inevitable. And people said, and I hate to say it, but I had a couple of journeymen even come up to me in Philly. And I keep mentioning Philly, but even in other jobs. But one particular guy, Harry, came up to me and he goes, fill out this JSA. I go, why? He goes, get used to it because this is what you'll be doing as a foreman. Okay.
Yep. Later
on, grabs me and he goes, one day you're going to be a foreman. I'm going to be working for you. And I go, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I took this job just for like giggles. Like I just applied for it for giggles and I somehow got it.
It happens like that though. Cause I mean, like the last couple of jobs that I ran when I was doing ironwork, like I started there as an apprentice. And then the last couple of jobs that I had some of the journeyman ironworker that were training me as I was coming up. They were now working for me. So it happens just that quick within a 3-4 year time span. I mean, those guys that are a foreman on this job site today, they might be a hand for you on the next job. Once you become supervisor, and it's a small world, you're going to run into these people all over the place.
And that's why I want to tell people on this podcast as well. And I'm talking to you too. Don't be mean to anybody. Try to be nice. I know it's fun to, you can have feelings, blah, blah, blah. No, be nice. Be professional. If you can be professional and stop burning bridges, you can keep that bridge. Keep that bridge and you walk on over that bridge. It's going to help you in the long run. If you don't, you're going to get blackballed and it's going to, and
Yeah.
like the Boilermakers were small. We're like a really small niche. Like I had a guy who was talking crap about me on TikTok and another Boilermaker hit me up and said, hey, that's another Boilermaker. And we found out exactly who that was and what hall he was out of. It's that small. We can figure it out like that. It's not, for instance, ironworking. Like you guys have so many members, it'd be hard to know everybody. But like in the Boilermakers, like for instance, Cleveland only has like 150 guys. Like Belleville only has like 200, and then like I think altogether there's like 5,000 or 6,000 Boilermakers. So it's not that big. I think the biggest hall is California, and I think they have 1,500 guys.
Oh, wow.
And that count. Do not count me wrong on that one. Do not count me on that. But it's pretty high. They have a significant amount out to 549.
Okay. It's a pretty tight-knit group.
Yeah. Like, I know, for instance, like 154, I think they have like 300 guys, 400 guys. They got a pretty sizable haul as well.
Okay.
But everybody knows.
Now, for somebody that's like interested in getting into the Boilermakers, like what's the first step? How do you figure out how to get involved with your local Boilermaker union?
So my first advice would be there's two avenues, and I'm glad you brought this up. So you could go online and search this up, anybody who's listening, Boilermakers Boot Camp. Look that up. They will literally send you out for 2.5 weeks and help you get ready for common arc tubes and send you out to work and get you hooked up with a hall and get you in.
Oh, no kidding. Like a try before you buy.
Yes, it goes through the international. Yeah. But it's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it that way. Mr. Hughes will get a hold of you, or another person will. They will get a hold of you, get your information, and they will send you a text message with an email and et cetera, with what to do.
Okay.
The other option is to call. So look up in your local area. So for instance, Cleveland, right? I'm from Cleveland. So I'd look up Cleveland Boilermakers 744, or just look up Cleveland Boilermakers. If you're in Illinois, look up Illinois Boilermakers, and you'll see local 60, local 1, and local 363 pop up. You search in local 3, or I keep saying local, but if you search your area with what union you'd like, for instance, pipe fitters, Boilermakers, ironworkers, you search that up, it'll take you to a site. It'll give you their number. Either talk to the BA, apprenticeship coordinator, or your business manager out of those halls. Talk to either of those 3 people and try and see what they can do for you. But the first step is making that call and initiating that first step.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that helps somebody.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, hey, Annie, it was great catching up with you. I know we got to chat a little bit more often. I know you've been busy. I've been busy, but it was awesome having you on the show. Before we get out of here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online, whether TikTok, Instagram, any of that stuff?
You can find me on Instagram at Dago Boilermaker. I have TikTok. It's the same thing. I'm not really liking the whole TikTok scene much, so I'm trying to kind of snaggle back into the Instagram scene.
Good for you.
Here and there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of TikTok.
So, that's where I'm at, So,
okay.
Hope to catch you guys on there and come chat.
Yeah. No, it's awesome again catching up with you. We'll have to keep messaging back and forth and whatnot. I mean, you're working on some really cool stuff. I like kind of following along and see what you're doing.
It's been a dream come true.
It's been a hell of a journey so far.
An absolute pleasure, Jason.
Yeah, definitely.
It sure has, but it's only getting started.
Exactly. It's the beginning of the journey. Closing one chapter. That's what I tell students when they're leaving the program. I was like, this isn't the end of the journey. This is the end of chapter 1. So you got an entire career ahead of you.
Oh yeah, and hopefully in a couple of years we can do this recap again and see where we're at again. So
yeah,
it's truthfully been an honor and a dream come true tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure chatting with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation between Annie and I. I hope you all have a kick-ass week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.